الحمد لله نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي صدق الله العظيم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I hope that everybody is well today, inshallah. Today we are going to be going to the third session of the understanding of Surah Faatihah. We've done the first two sessions, and I'm not going to go over what we did in the last two sessions because today we've got a lot to cover, and so I need to move on quickly, inshallah. Okay, so let's get on with it, inshallah. So we have today the beginning of the actual tafsir of Surah Faatihah. So far what I've done is I've discussed about the surah, its beginnings, its origin, its value, virtues, etc. inshallah. So we will continue from there and see where it goes from there, inshallah. So today is our session on the actual beginnings of the tafsir of Surah Faatihah. So let's move on from there. Okay, we begin with a hadith. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was once sitting with the Sahaba Ikram, and Jibreel alayhi salam was actually with him, and he heard a sound, and everybody around him there heard the sound as well, and it was a tremendous sound. But the way the ulama have described it, some of them say it was like the creaking of a door, so it's a sharp sound, or in some hadith it says like a thunderous sound. Wallahu alam, but it was a sound that startled everybody. And so the hadith describes this sound, that it was a sound from above, like a door opening, and Jibreel alayhi salam looked up towards the sky and said, "This is a gate in heaven that has been opened, but it was never opened before." An angel came down from it and came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and this angel there says to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "Receive the glad tidings, receive the glad tidings of two lights that have been given to you and were never given to any prophet before you. And these two lights, the opening of the book, Surah Al-Faatihah, and the last verses of Surah Al-Baqarah." And the angel then told the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "You will never recite a single letter of them, but you will be granted it." Right? I.e., these are du'as, these are acting as du'as, and they will be heard by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and answered. So they're very beneficial for us, inshallah. So I'm not going to go to the verses of Surah Baqarah, that will be some other time. But today, obviously, we're looking at Surah Al-Faatihah. So this is the beginnings of Surah Faatihah. This is how Surah Faatihah is revealed. The Jibreel al-Islam is there, and it's brought down by another angel just for this purpose. And then Jibreel al-Islam obviously confers it to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is the specialness of Surah Faatihah, even as we enter into its tafsir, that how it first came to be. All right, while we do that, I want to just highlight something. Now it says a sound from above like a door opening. Okay, a sound from above like a door opening. Now, in the hadith, it doesn't go too much into detail here, because obviously the people at that time, 1400 years ago, were very unaware of what we know today in terms of science and technology, and the knowledge that we have about the earth and indeed the universe, and about the different types of occurrences in the universe itself. So what I want to look at here, just for briefly, just to show the grandness of Surah Faatihah, not from so much of a scientific point of view, but more from a spiritual point of view. But in order to do that, I'm going to have to give you a little bit of science, so bear with me, inshallah. This is important, and ultimately all knowledge is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So whether it's science or spirituality, alhamdulillah, it is all ultimately from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what I've got here is what we call in science a wormhole. Now, a wormhole actually occurs in space, in the universe, and they've discovered that the wormholes can be very small, to the extent that, like the size of a finger or something like that, and some can be bigger. How big they can be, they don't know. But the scientists have discovered this in the last decade or so. So I'll just give you a little bit about what wormholes are as they occur in the universe. They occur quite unknowingly. Nobody knows where or when they're going to occur. Okay, but you can picture a wormhole as a kind of tunnel that connects 2 points in space-time. Okay, it connects 2 points in space-time. So it's like a tunnel that goes from point A all the way along to point B in another place, in another area, or another point of the universe. That tunnel could be a straight shoot, or it might take a more winding path. that's almost irrelevant. But the fact of the matter is that it has a point where it opens and a point on the other side where it opens as well. So it's like a wormhole, which I literally what they call it, but it can twist and turn or it can be straight in the universe. If the wormhole is traversable, it acts as a shortcut through space-time, connecting 2 points that would otherwise be far apart. So traversable meaning that you can go through it. Now, what they mean, obviously, in terms of science is for us human beings, we can't do it. We do not have the technology. We do not have the knowledge to be able to formulate something, some means of travel, a spaceship that could go through a wormhole that will not itself collapse in upon itself, because the forces within the wormhole will tear it apart. Also, you have the additional problem that time itself collapses inside a wormhole. It distorts and it collapses at some point. So how the vehicle can keep moving and how we would be, what that impact will be upon us, because we are creatures within the time zone of the universe, Allah knows best. So at the moment, as I say, we don't have the knowledge and information and technology to be able to go through it. So at the moment, they're talking about if it was traversable, this is what would happen. So wormholes could connect different spots within a single universe, or they can connect different universes. Now, some of you may have heard of the multiverse theory. And again, this is a possibility. And there are hadith which speak about things that could be interpreted as multiverses, multi-universes. And there are hadith, in fact, there's some ayah in the Quran where you could interpret that as a wormhole. Now, again, as I say, the mufassirin, the ulama of the Quran, who did the tafsir of the Quran, did so many hundreds of years ago. Even the ones who did it recently, they would not know about wormholes because these are recent discoveries. So as a result of that, they will simply put that it's a gate or a doorway or a pathway to the heavens, and that's all they can say. But now with knowledge and technology, we can actually interpret that, just as we've been interpreting many things in the Quran over time as the knowledge becomes available. So using wormholes, you could travel a distance of billions of miles in seconds. That's what it means, basically. That you go into a wormhole and you come out the other end, and you have traveled billions of miles in space across the universe within a matter of seconds. Okay. So, all right, so that's just science behind it. Let's have a look now at the spirituality, inshallah. So the wormhole itself is a creation of Allah Ta'ala. Okay, the wormhole is a creation of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. And as such, it's okay to study it, to learn about it, etc. However, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala has created it for a purpose, as with everything else. So this may be a way for the angels to travel to and from this world and the angelic realm. Okay, because we have in the hadith, there's a sound that they hear. It was coming from out from the sky. So this will be the opening of the wormhole. And then the angel comes down with Surah Faatihah. Right? So is this a possible means? Allah knows best. We can't accept and we can't reject until we know more. But the point is that here is something that we should at least be open-minded about. Now, wormholes can distort time, as I mentioned earlier. So that would explain how angels can enter into our time zone coming from a timeless zone. Because the angelic realm in the heavens, it doesn't have, or at least it doesn't have the time that we're used to. If it has a separate time, Allah knows best. But for all intents and purposes, they come from a timeless zone. And in order for them to enter into our realm, our universe, which immediately, as soon as you enter our universe, time becomes incumbent upon you, then the angels will have to come into such a manner, into such a pathway that is at one end timeless and at the other end is within time. And that would again explain the wormhole, the use of the wormhole. So ultimately, Allah knows best, but it's something to consider, inshallah. Perhaps in the future, our ulama will know more about this and be able to relate to the Quran and the tafsir of Quran and hadith and the events in there with such scientific events. Okay, so let's have a reminder about Surah Al-Faatihah itself. We translated it to all praises due to Allah, Lord of the worlds, the most merciful, the most kind, King of the day of judgment. You alone we worship and you alone we ask for help. Guide us to the straight path, the path of those upon whom you have bestowed favor, not of those who have earned your wrath or those who are astray, and Ameen. Now, I want you to remember something which I mentioned in the first session when we first did the translation, and I went through the translation and I asked you to remember something. First of all, it was that if we take the first 3 ayat as praise and the last ayat as our dua, then the middle ayah connects the two pieces by describing our relation to Allah Ta'ala, that we worship Him alone and we ask Him for help. However, beyond that, I said to you that the surah ends with the word Ameen. And I said to you, bear this in mind. So if you're not sure, just go back to the first one. You can have a look at it again, and inshallah, you'll see it there. So now I'm going to take this up. As I said, this whole series is about Surah Faatihah, so I will be going from one session to another. And of course, because the sessions are short, I'll be covering an amount. So you'll have to put it all together, inshallah, to connect the whole course. Okay, so what does Ameen imply? This word, in slightly different pronunciations, you will find this, it's in Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. All the three, if you like, Ahlul Kitab, the two religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, all of us use the same word. They say in Christianity, Amen, and in Islam, we say Ameen. So it's used across all three. So there must be a purpose and a significance for it, inshallah. So it means in itself, truly, or indeed, or so be it. So that's the translation of Ameen in the Arabic, okay? It has similar meanings in the Judaic and the Christianity versions as well. Truly, or indeed, or so be it. Okay, its pronunciation is with a long alif due to the mud, and I'll show you that. There you go. So you can see the alif here, okay? That's the alif, the first letter of the Arabic alphabet. And on top of that is this squiggle, which is called the mud. Okay, it is called the mud. All right. Now, what the mud does in tajweed, as those of you who know about tajweed will know, it elongates the sound of the letter that it's being carried by. Okay, it elongates the sound. So in this case, it's alif. So instead of saying a, we say a. It lengthens the sound of the letter that it's riding over. Okay. So in this case, we've got mim, ya, noon, mean, mean. Okay, so its pronunciation is Ameen. So in actual fact, the mud will elongate it to what's called 4 haraka. 4 haraka would be translated as 4 letter A's. But of course, we don't write 4 letter A's, so 2 is sufficient. And that will, inshallah, signify that this is an elongation of the word Ameen. Okay, so that's how to pronounce it. Now we get from Ameen, that its root words are alif, mim, noon, aman. And aman means to be safe. Now, we also have a lot of people take this, that there's a derivation of this word, which people use for baby names as well. And that's Amina. And Amina, as you can see here again, there's your alif, okay? There's your alif, and there's your mud, okay? So the word is actually Amina. So many times you'll see the spelling like this. That's actually not correct in the English language. If that's used in another language, that's a separate matter. But in the English language, the word, the name Amina is actually with a long A, and so it should be double A, Amina. Its origin is in Arabic, and the meaning of the word Amina, okay, means trustworthy and truthful, okay? And it was of the name of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's mother, okay? Now, I just want to make a point here while we're on this. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam emphasized giving names with a good meaning to children. So what you have to think about is this, and this is slightly spiritual, slightly to do with taqdeer. Every one of us, our names are chosen by our parents. And when our parents chose our names, they did it for a particular thing in mind, which is goodness. They wanted goodness for us. So they would choose a name that had a good meaning, hoping that we would grow up with that name and applying that name and become, our characteristics would be with that name. So of course, parents would choose the name Amina. What they meant for their daughter would have been that she should be trustworthy and truthful. Now, in the same sense, we can look at it in terms of taqdeer. Everything is happening by taqdeer. So the name that we are ascribed in our lives is actually a part of our taqdeer. So we should look at those names because our parents chose them with good meaning. And you'll find, in actual fact, that somewhere deep within us, something of our name is actually true within us. And that's, if you like, the beginning, the seed from which we can grow, in the sense that this is what my name means. My parents chose it. Means goodness of some whatever form it does. Let me now become that person. Let me now develop that characteristic within me. And that would be a good thing to do, inshallah. So this is just for one name. There are many other names, obviously. We can look into that, inshallah. The other thing that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam also advised is to choose names with good meanings. And in some cases where non-Muslims became Muslim, he didn't change their names. I know we have a fad over here, especially amongst the Pakistani culture, that whenever somebody becomes a Muslim, we want to immediately give them an Arabic name or a Urdu-sounding name. But in reality, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, if you have a good name, keep it. It was only when somebody had a bad name, a name with a bad meaning, that he would change that name to something else. But it's not necessary otherwise. So for example, in English, you have many English names like that have good meanings. For example, Rose. Now, Rose is a name in English which literally means, refers to the flower. So there'll be no need to change that to the Arabic warda, right? Meaning the change, or Zahra, meaning a flower. Okay, so meaning rose or meaning flower. There's no need to do that. Rose will be fine. So that's the thing with names, just to give you a brief emphasis on this, because Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned it, and because it has some connotations with the word Ameen. So in terms of the word Ameen, coming back to that, in the case of Surah Faatihah, saying Ameen means truly or indeed or so be it. Okay, fair enough. This would imply, therefore, let's follow the logic, that the dua of Faatihah has been accepted or answered. Okay, it would mean that dua of Faatihah, what we've asked for to Allah Ta'ala, guidance, right, upon the Sirat al-Mustaqim, has been accepted. So where's the answer? We've got the dua, and at the end of Surah Faatihah, as I said, it's adab to say Ameen. And you see this in the Salah, when the Imam recites Surah Faatihah, the congregation behind him says Ameen. So we follow this Sunnah, we follow this. But why are we saying Ameen to this when we don't say Ameen to any other dua? And why is it important? Especially if the dua, the Ameen means it's so be it, it's accomplished, it's been accepted. In which case, where's the answer to the dua? So the ulama say that the answer to the dua is the rest of the Quran. That is the answer to Fatiha. That we ask for hidayah, for guidance to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then the Quran opens up with Surah Baqarah and the rest of the Quran. As in the first sense, we talked about how Surah Faatihah is the mother of the book and the rest of the Quran is the tafseer of Surah Faatihah. In the same sense, as a dua, it leads on to the rest of the Quran as well. So as a surah, it leads on to the Quran, meaning that this is the tafseer of that surah. And as a dua, it leads on to the Quran, showing that this is the answer to your dua. So contemplation, understanding, and practice of the Quran is the answer to the dua, and the answer to the dua means that you are on Sirat al-Mustaqim. Alhamdulillah. Okay, so now let's have a look at the first ayah of Surah Faatihah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين. That's the first ayah of Surah Faatihah. And I'm going to now focus on just the first word, Alhamdu. Okay, Alhamdu. Now the whole ayah translates to all praise is due to Allah, Lord of the worlds. So let's have a look at Alhamdu. In the Tafseer, the surah begins stating that all praise is due to Allah Ta'ala. So Alhamdu means praise. Okay, all praise for Allah Ta'ala. So whoever praises anything anywhere in the world is ultimately praising Allah Ta'ala. That's what it implies now. Right? Because if all praise is due to Allah Ta'ala, whatever you're praising is a creation, and that is coming from Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. So wherever you are, whoever you are, whatever you're praising, you're ultimately praising Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Much like a painting or a book that we praise that was a great book, that's a great story, or that's a great painting, or that's a great piece of art, that's a great culture, whatever it is that we've made. Ultimately, you're praising the person who did it. You're praising the artist, the novelist, the painter, the sculptor, and you're saying that they did a good piece of work. You're praising them. In the same sense, all of creation belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and praising any of it is a praise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. From the atom to the universe, each and everything is in fact the manifestation of the same creative power of Allah ta'ala. Everything around you, all of it, including ourselves, is creation. And in basic, simple terms, that's your evidence for those who do not believe in the existence of God. Everything around you is proof of his existence because he made it, he created it. Just as a novelist, you know he's a good novelist when he produced so many novels. A painter is a good painter because of all the paintings. And the novels are an evidence that he's a writer. The paintings are evidence that he's a painter. So in the same sense, all of creation is evidence that there is a creator. Further to this, all good events, relief after hardship, cure after illness, fulfillment of hope, all of these are from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? All of these are from Allah ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran, all that is good that comes to you, all khair comes from me. So all good events, all relief, is coming from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All cures are coming from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And fulfillments of hope, things you hope for, things you plan for, things are going to happen, you're looking forward to that day. And when that day comes and it happens, is all due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So again, all praise is due to Allah. We give shukr to Him that He's cured us, that He's relieved us, that He's fulfilled our hopes. In terms of the language, I want to just look a little bit more, zoom in a little bit more on this. There's a prefix. It says alhamdu. Now in Arabic, you have this al in various words. Alhamdu, again, has an importance as well. Where you use the word al, right, it specifies something, okay? It makes something specific, right? So if you like, it makes a common noun into a specific noun, okay? So for example, we say a boy, a girl, a cat, a dog. We say the boy or the girl, it means we're specifically pointing out an individual boy or an individual girl amongst a crowd of them or a group of them. So in the same sense here, we have hamd, which is praise, but we have alhamd, which now makes it specific, meaning that the whole of praise belongs to Allah Ta'ala. So just in the wording itself, you get this incredible structure of language that defines praise belonging to Allah Ta'ala. Even when somebody does you a favor, it was Allah who created that person and Allah who put in that person's heart at that moment in time to help you. Because at the same time, you could have asked somebody for help and they refuse you, right? So it's not just enough that Allah Ta'ala created that person that you asked for help, but He also put into their hearts the idea, the notion that I'm going to help this person, and they say yes. So all of that belongs truly to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. That does not take away from the fact that we should be grateful to creation. We can be and we should be. We should be grateful to people who do good for us, and we should return that favor. That's fine. That's part of our life. However, a believer understands that ultimately Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought me this relief through this person and made this person an asbab, one of the means for that help. The word hamdu itself is a noun, which makes the expression timeless. How? Well, if you have a verb, right? If you have a verb has tense. You have past tense, present tense, future tense in simple. Past tense, present tense, future tense. Whereas a noun doesn't have that. For example, I can say running. I can say I was running, okay? Or I ran, that's past tense. Or I am running, that's present tense. I will run, that's future tense. So I ran in the past tense. I am running, present tense. I will run, future tense. In terms of nouns though, in terms of nouns, for example, table, chair, you can't say I will, or I was, or I'm going to. You don't say that. It simply is, okay? It simply is. So in that sense, the noun is used here instead of a verb. Allah Ta'ala didn't say praise Allah Ta'ala in the past or praise Him in the present, because it could then have that connotation that praise Allah Ta'ala now and not in the past. So in the past, Allah Ta'ala was not praised, or praise Allah Ta'ala in the past and not now, or in the future and not in the past or present. Allah Ta'ala doesn't do that. He uses the noun, which means that Allah Ta'ala is being praised constantly, consistently, regardless of time. So He's being praised in the heavens and in the earth, in the universe, always has been, is now, and always will be. That's what it refers to, in that sense that all of creation is going to be in the sense of praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and has been. Okay, so Allah Ta'ala, in terms of His praise, was, is, and always will be. And the whole of praise always will be. So putting the two together, al and hamdu, the noun and the prefix, means that all of praise belongs to Allah, always has, is now, and always will. Subhanallah. Okay, the next part I want to look at is Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah, next word, lillah. And this we understand is the word which is the very specific name of Allah Ta'ala. So the second word is the name of the Creator, Allah. Now this name has a special title. It's called Ismi Dhat. Ismi Dhat, which means the personal name of our Creator. The personal name of our Creator. All right. There are two aspects to this. First of all praise being due to Allah Ta'ala, followed by the personal name of Allah Ta'ala. These two together constitute a subject called Tawheed. Okay, that all praise belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is the one, our creator, being all, and then his name follows immediately after. Alhamdulillah, or li Allah. Li Allah. Li meaning for Allah, the name, the ismi that, the personal name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, so what is Tawheed? Tawheed is the study of the greatness of our Creator. Okay, Tawheed is the study of the greatness of our Creator. As such, it is the most important subject for all creation in existence. I cannot emphasize this subject. Forget any and every other topic that you know to the best of your knowledge throughout the entire universe. Nothing exceeds the knowledge of Tawheed, because Tawheed is the study of the greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and there is nothing greater than that. So every single Muslim should have a good grounding in the knowledge of Tawheed as a fard, right? As an obligation upon him, upon her, regardless of who you are, how old you are. You should all have a firm grounding in the basic knowledge of Tawheed, okay? And through Tawheed, we come to know our Creator. So that's why. How can you know your Creator? You don't know Tawheed. And as a lack of Tawheed is causing a lot of problems in the Muslim world, where people become distracted from reality, or where they become astray from the haqq, from the truth, and start to do things in Islam, thinking it's part of Islam, thinking it's nearing them to Allah Ta'ala, thinking it's a good thing, and it's not, because their Tawheed was not in place, and as a result of which they were not able to recognize the reality of what's going on. Tawheed is often broken down into different subjects, and this helps us to learn the subject matter, as with all complex subjects. Okay, you get complex subjects, and if he's a good teacher, he'll break it down into small chunks and then explain it to you. That way you understand it better. It also shows, you see, the better a person can explain something, the better that person has mastered it himself or herself. So that's a sign of a good teacher, is if a good teacher can teach you, not only are they a good teacher, it shows they have a very good grasp of understanding that subject. So the scholars of Islam at some point broke it down into component parts. Some people still teach Tawheed as a whole, and that's fine, alhamdulillah, depending on the audience. And some people then break it down to make it a little bit more digestible, alhamdulillah, and that's fine depending upon the audience. So the subject is broken down into three in the main. One is uluhiyah, the second part is ibadah, and the third part is asma wa sifat. Okay, asma wa sifat. So these are the three components of Tawheed as the overall subject: Tawheed uluhiyah, Tawheed ibadah, Tawheed asma wa sifat. Okay, those three. So let's have a look at each one just briefly, inshallah. Tawheed uluhiyah. Tawheed uluhiyah, this is a study of how Allah Ta'ala is one. Okay, the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In Arabic, the word for one is wahid normally. Okay, if you look at if anybody knows the Arabic, they'll know that it's wahid, ithna, thalatha, ruba, etc. So number one in mathematics in Arabic is wahid. Yet for Allah Ta'ala, we don't use this word, but rather we use the word ahad. Everybody knows qul huwallahu ahad. Say that Allah is ahad. Say Allah is one. Why not say qul huwallahu wahid? We say qul huwallahu ahad, because ahad is a special oneness. Okay, it's a special implication in this word, where it's not used even in mathematical sense for saying this is one pen, or this is one car, or one table. Why? Because that one pen does not stop from other pens being there as well, right? If you have one pen here in your hand, somebody else might have another pen in his hand, or somewhere else in the world. So it's not used like that for Allah Ta'ala. Allah Ta'ala cannot be described as one where there can be another one. So the word ahad is used, which is not used anywhere else. The word ahad is used specifically for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, meaning one where there is no example like it. One where there's no other example like it. So I'm not going to go into too much detail now, because this is a subject in itself, but what it implies is no one and no thing can be compared to Allah Ta'ala, for his oneness is such that it is without example, right? It's completely without example. Some general attributes of his oneness are: he is absolute, he is unique, he is infinite, and he is incomparable. These are some of the general attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's that, his presence. That he is absolute, he is unique, he is infinite, he is incomparable. And again, I'm not going to go into detail about these yet. It's just to give you an overview We will come back some other point, inshallah, and look at it again in more detail, but it's just to give you a basic grounding. Absolute meaning that whatever it does is complete. There is nothing left out. It's complete. Unique meaning that what he is, there is no example. There is nothing to compare with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Also, just a side point here, we should not be using certain words like this in our day-to-day language. I know businesses say this is unique offer, unique special offer, etc. You're not supposed to use that, because unique, these terms that are used for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they have a particular meaning, and human beings cannot, we cannot achieve uniqueness. We cannot. There's no such thing. We cannot achieve uniqueness. He is infinite. That means there is no end to him. There is no end to him, no beginning, no end. He's limitless and incomparable. Again, whatever you imagine, even if you want to try to imagine Allah Ta'ala, whatever you imagine, that's not him. Well, even if you imagine light, that's not Allah Ta'ala. Okay, he's incomparable. The second was Tawheed Ibadah. This is a study of how to worship Allah Ta'ala alone. Okay, and Ibadah is of two types: direct and indirect. Okay, you got direct and you've got indirect. So direct Ibadah is what is enjoined upon us. For example, Salah, Psalm, Hajj, Zakah, okay, prayer, fasting, Hajj, and charity. And in terms of indirect, it's whatever we do for His sake. Whatever we do in life for Allah Ta'ala's sake, that's indirect ibadah. Okay. In both cases, though, we need to be sincere, focused, and devoted to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the essence of ibadah. Sincerity, focus, and devotion to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Tawheed Asma wa Sifat, the third one. This is the study of the 99 names of Allah Ta'ala. This is the study of the 99 names of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Now, Allah Ta'ala has more than 99 names, as He is infinite, don't forget. He is infinite. That's one of His qualities of His Zat, of His person. So, He is infinite. We cannot therefore say He's got 99 names. Because by saying 99, you have now qualified Him. You've quantified Him. You put a limit on Him, you see? And that can't be. So the only reason we say it's 99 is that the 99 were revealed to us in Al-Quran. That's it. Al-Quran Al-Majid has got the 99 names. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has revealed 99 of His names to us through the Quran. We do not know how many He actually has. Each name is also an attribute of Allah Ta'ala. Attribute meaning that's also an ability of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For example, in human terms, we can say somebody's name is Rahman. Now, Rahman means merciful. It does not mean that Mr. Rahman is merciful. He may not be. He might be double dealing people. He might be ripping people off, etc. He might be cruel to his employees or whatever it is, right? And if there is a Mr. Rahman, I don't mean any offense to you. All I'm saying is that as a human being, because he has his name, does not mean he's going to follow that. He should do, as I mentioned earlier, but he may not necessarily do that. Whereas in the case of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, His name is also His quality. So Allah is Rahman. And again, we add Al, so it becomes Ar-Rahman, okay? And Ar-Rahman means the completely merciful, that He's merciful to all His creation, even those that disobey Him. He's merciful to them as well. So this is a part of Asma wa Sifat. Now, each attribute is also subject to the general attributes of Allah Ta'ala from Uluhiyya that I just mentioned. You know, that is absolute, He's infinite, He's eternal, He's unique. So all of His attributes are infinite, absolute, unique, eternal. All of His attributes. Each one of those 99 attributes has these 4 qualities within them. Okay, so this is the study of the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This amazing subject, mashallah. And you know, anybody who lives by Tawheed, you are guaranteed Jannah, by the way. Anybody who lives by Tawheed is guaranteed Jannah, subhanallah. Okay, now I'm going to look at Tawheed and the name of Allah Ta'ala. Okay, the name Allah itself, the Ism That, is very special. In every letter of this name, there exists the presence of Allah Ta'ala. You couldn't do that with your name. Anybody's name, you can just take off one of the letters and the name becomes, it's redundant, okay? Because that's not the complete spelling. Yet in the name Allah, it's so special, right? I mean, have a look at this. Have a look at this. Here's Allah's name, okay? And it means the one and only God. Allah means the one and only God. Okay, now, what if we were to take the alif off? Now, this is linguistic. Now, this is a linguistic miracle of the Quran as well. Here, take a look at this, right? We're going to take alif off. And if you take alif off, you can put a kasra under the first lam and you get lillah, lillah, which means to Him all things return. Right? And I know many of you will know the dua when somebody dies, we say, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. To Allah we belong and to Allah we will return. Okay? So, lillahi, which is also found in the Quran. To Him belongs all things. So we haven't lost the essence of Allah Ta'ala. It's there. We've taken the alif off and yet Allah Ta'ala, the essence remains. Next. If we take off the second lam, right, and we're left with lahu, which means to him belong all things. To him belong all things, right? Lahu samawati wal ard. Allahu lahu samawati wal ard. Allah Ta'ala says in the Quran, Allah, to him belongs everything which is in the heavens and the earth. Lahu. So we've taken off the alif, we've taken off the lam, and we've stuck with just one lam and one ha left of the name. We've literally split the name from its letters. We've removed the letters one by one. Half the name is left, and yet it still ascribes itself to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To him belong all things. And we can go further. Did you know? Now we're left with just a ha. Who, okay, just that. We've taken away alif, lam, lam. We've taken everything. We've just got one letter left of Allah's name. Can you imagine that? Just one letter. You know what that means? Only He truly exists. Who? Only Him, right? Only Him. And in the Quran, we have an ayah which talks about this, that everything will be perished, be gone, except wajhullah, wajhu, illa wajhu, except His face, Him, His being. So everything will perish. This is Qiyamah. Everything will die. Everything will end, except Allah, illa hu. Only He truly exists. Subhanallah. Existence is by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The rest of us, we're depending upon Him for our existence. Subhanallah. The next part is Rabb. Rabbil Alameen. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. So let's have a look at the meaning of Rabb. Okay, the word Rabb means one who nurtures, and it implies developing a thing by gradual stages in a manner which is best for its own good until it achieves perfection. Subhanallah. Okay, the word Rabb means one who nurtures and implies developing a thing by gradual stages in a manner which is best for its own good until it achieves perfection. So this means that Allah Ta'ala takes something from its beginning, from its inception, all the way through. He grows it. He grows it like a baby. He grows it. He grows it. He develops it until it achieves its final state. Now, Rabb as a name, as one of the names of Allah Ta'ala, has within it, further attributes encased within it. It means nourisher, cherisher, sustainer, evolver. It has four within it, because in order for Him to fulfill the rabubiyat of Him, his rabbaniyat, right, where He is developing this being from its inception to its end, He needs to nourish it. Everything needs to be nourished. He needs to also cherish it, because when you look after something, whether it's a cat, an animal, a pet, a plant, whatever you look after, a child, you cherish them, you love them, and that's what compels you to develop them. You sustain it. You do not let it die. You sustain it. So Allah sustains it. You evolve it. So Allah Ta'ala shapes it, as He does in the wombs of our mothers, as He does in our life. Our bodies are shapes, forms, and change as we go through life until we become old. He evolves us. So this is part of Allah Ta'ala being a Rabb, right? Rabbil Alameen. So Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Now we're on the last one. Alameen. Okay, Alameen. In terms of Alam, the word Alameen means worlds. Okay, it means worlds. It's plural of alam, which means worlds. It refers to various levels of creation. Now, originally, the ulama have said that if you look at the word closely, it also means just the world of human beings, okay? And the different worlds of human beings, i.e. meaning different cultures, nations, and civilizations. However, you can extrapolate further to say that all the different worlds that exist, because there are many by definition. A world is a self-contained system, and there are many self-contained systems in creation. So we can look at that and say, okay, by extension, first, Allah Ta'ala's Alameen is the world of mankind, all the different nations and tribes and races. Then further from that is everything else. And we can take both meanings together, inshallah. So we look first at the three species that Allah Ta'ala has created: the world of angel, the world of jinn, and the world of mankind. Okay, the world of angel, jinn, and mankind. Now, by the way, before I go further, I did mean to mention at the beginning, if you have children in the room, I would advise you not to have children in the room. These courses that I do, there are things that I will mention in there to do with adult relationships, for example, in terms of marriage and private matters between husband and wife, or to do with Jahannam and the kind of tortures that are there. So you may not want to allow your children to see these things. This course is for adults only. I have mentioned it before, and it is for those who are ideally, 18 plus, and who are mature, sensible, and married would be even better, alhamdulillah. But the point is that if you have children, I would advise you please not to have children listen to this, because it is, first of all, in terms of its knowledge level, it's a bit above their heads anyway, but in terms of some of the details I'll be going through, it will be a little bit difficult for them, and you may not want them to see or hear some of these things. So I would advise you to be cautious with that. So anyway, the three species that Allah Ta'ala has created: angel, jinn, and mankind. Now, the worlds of mankind, as I mentioned earlier, are nations and communities, right? So when he says Rabbal Alameen, the Alameen is the nations and communities of mankind. Also the worlds of animal life forms, the inanimate forms on earth and the universe as well. Inanimate meaning non-living, okay? And there are systems then, I will show you that inshallah. Other life forms which are best known to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I will go through that as well. So briefly, I'm going to just look at the worlds that we have. So if we first have the human world. Now, human beings are the third sentient creation, okay? The third sentient meaning intelligent, feeling creation, okay? It's a being that has feelings and notions and ideas, thoughts, okay? So it's the third sentient creation. Created from the earth clay. We have appetites, e.g. the need for food, drink, and sexual relations. So these are our appetites. There are more, but the thing is, I'm just mentioning a few just to sort of give us an idea to identify human beings amongst the other creations. We do have gender, okay? Male and female, and that's it. It doesn't go any further. Male and female. No matter how much you want to twist it around, male and female. No matter how much you want to feel about it, male and female. We are obedient to Allah Ta'ala by choice. By choice, meaning we have the choice to obey or we have the choice not to obey, as we see throughout the human world. Okay, the animal world is the next world I want to look at, and the animal world is all around us. And I want to just briefly point out there are land animals. There's the world of land animals, the world of sea animals, and the world of air animals. Okay, and we see this all around us, inshallah. So I'm going to leave that as it is and be brief about it. We also have the plant world. Right? We have the microbial world, right? And in the microbial world, we have three worlds within that: bacterial, viral, and fungal worlds. So there's a world of bacteria, world of virus, and world of fungus, okay? So these are worlds within worlds even. Further to that, we have the macroverse, which is the universe, right? The entire universe. There's clusters of galaxies, clusters of solar systems, etc. Subhanallah, that it is immense. Right? Immense. We have solar systems within it, which then make up galaxies, which then makes up the universe. In there, millions, billions of solar systems make up millions of galaxies, make up the complete universe, the cosmos. Further to that, if we now go to the other extreme end, we have the atomic world. And in the atomic world, we have protons and neutrons within the nucleus. We can see the red and the blue balls. And then we have the electrons, which are whizzing around it. So these are the three components of the atomic world in an atomic structure. However, now recently, they've also discovered there's a subatomic world, subhanallah. Can you imagine that there's a subatomic world where there are subatomic particles which they've yet to identify, and we have now made a discovery there. How did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala do all this? It's mind-boggling that He creates a universe which on the macro end, which is incredibly huge, and on the other end, subatomic particles. Subhanallah. And of course, when we say Rabbal Alameen, yes, the old question that people often want to ask: are there aliens? Is there life on other worlds? Allah truly knows best, but the word Alameen, that expression, encompasses it. And again, we can go to hadith, and there are certain hadiths which speak of things that do suggest other worlds, okay? Even the journey of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that Mi'raj, suggests the existence of other worlds, possibly even the multiverse theory. Allahu Alam. But all I'm saying is when we say Rabbal Alameen, because the meanings of Allah's kalam is only known to Him in its ultimate length, we don't know. So I leave that to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the point is to highlight this to you now at this point. Okay. Now we come to the spiritual world. So that was all the physical world, the aspects of the physical world, briefly put. Now I'm going to look at the aspects of the spiritual world. And the first and foremost of that is the world of the angels. Now, angels are the first sentient creation. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first created angels, okay? And they were in their mass numbers. They were created from nur, from a light, not the light we know in this world, not the light like the sunlight or electrical light, no. A particular kind of light which is called nur in Arabic, which means light, but it is of an essence and substance which is unknown in this world. Because if it's known in this world, when they come into this world, we would be able to see them. But it doesn't. And also they would not be able to travel through wormholes, because in wormholes, light is distorted from the universe. So they must be created of some substance of light that is beyond this universe, that this universe cannot distort. So they can travel safely through a wormhole. They cannot be seen by human beings. And they do not have appetites, e.g. the need for food, drink, sexual relations. They do not have the need for any of this. They do not eat, drink, they do not marry, they do not produce children. They do not have gender, okay? They do not have gender. And they are completely obedient to Allah Ta'ala. They are not obedient by choice. They are completely obedient to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala in entirety. In entirety. They cannot disobey Allah Ta'ala for a moment. Whatever Allah Ta'ala requests, they do. The next world is the world of jinn. Again, in the spirit world, we have this incredible world, and the jinn are the second sentient creation. After creating the angels, Allah Ta'ala created the jinn, okay? They are created from a substance called smokeless fire. Now, this smokeless fire is actually part of this universe, right? It actually is a part of this universe. Therefore, they can be seen by human beings. Sometimes we can sense them, their movements, and sometimes we can see them. We may not see a complete jinn, or we may see a silhouette of it, but we can see them. So it shows that their substance of origin is from this universe, because we can perceive them. They do have appetites like us. They have a need for food, drink, and sexual relationships. They have gender, they get married, etc., etc. But part of what they do, we have to be careful as human beings, is that they can enter into human bodies. They can enter into us and possess us. And because they have such a great need for food, drink, and sexual relations, they are the ones that cause us to have sexual anarchy in the human world. So hence pornography, prostitution, affairs, adultery, etc. A lot of this is because jinn will actually infest human beings and enjoy sexual relationships through another human being, between two human beings, and they will also take part in that and encourage you in that. So there are adab that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has given to the husband and wife for when they are about to engage in sexual relations. There's particular du'as and particular methods of doing so, which then allow and ensure that the jinn do not come in, and that allows the barakah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for you in that relationship. They do have gender, therefore, and they live in a parallel dimension to us on earth. They are obedient to Allah Ta'ala by choice, same as us. There are good jinn, there are bad jinn. In terms of the world of souls, there is a world of souls where we all come from, okay? It's called Alam al-Arwah, okay? It's called Alam al-Arwah, the place of souls. It's where all the souls are waiting, and then they come down to the dunya and put inside the womb, and the fetus becomes alive, the embryo becomes alive, and then the baby is born into the world for as long as it will be. So this is the world of souls that exists as well. So this is a complete other world, apart from the world of jinn, angels, man, animals, etc., which also exists, and Allah is the Rabb of that world. Then we come into the world of the womb, and is in a sense the human journey. We come into the world of the womb, and the world of the womb is indeed, it's a world. It's an existence in itself, okay? At this point, as the human being is transferring into this world, the angels come and go inside the womb, okay? The angels will come and go inside the womb, right? The mother will not be too aware of this, but the angels will come and they shape the baby according to how Allah Ta'ala wants. Remember what I said about Allah Ta'ala? He's the evolver, right? He's the nourisher, he's the sustainer. So he evolves the embryo, he shapes it, and the angels listen to Allah's commands, and there's hadith about this, and they shape the baby until how Allah Ta'ala wants it to be. Then we have the world of barzakh. You live in this life and then you die. And when you die, you go to your grave. But in the grave, it isn't just an empty mound of earth. No. There is a whole world there. You move out of this world into another world. So you come into the world of the womb, then you come into the dunya, then you come into the barzakh. And there, when we're dead, we are questioned by angels for the way we lived our life. Thereafter is the akhirah. And there we have the world of Jahannam. Okay, hellfire. And in hellfire, people will be burnt in different ways. They'll be tortured in different ways according to the crimes that they committed in this dunya. However, apart from human beings in Jahannam, right now in Jahannam, there are inhabitants in Jahannam right now. One of those inhabitants is a serpent. There are serpents of hell which are in there awaiting the people of the dunya who have committed particular crimes. These serpents will chase after those people, right? And the poison of these snakes, right, is such that a single drop of that poison, if it was to be put on the earth, the ocean would boil up. The entire ocean would boil up if a single drop of the poison of this serpent was put on the earth, and this serpent would chase those particular kind of people for that particular kind of crime that were committed in this world, and it will not be relenting at all. It will not relent at all, and it will chase them forever in hell, biting them. They will die from it, but there's no death, so they will live, and they will come back, and then he will chase them again, it will bite them again, and this will continue forever. The other creature in Jahannam is scorpions. Scorpions will be of an incredibly huge size as well, right? Far bigger than they are now, far bigger than we are, bigger than a house. They will be incredible size, and their poison from their tail also is the same as the venom of the serpent, that it can make an entire ocean boil up. And these scorpions will be set upon the people in particular who committed zina in this dunya. Those who committed illegal sexual intercourse or committed adultery whilst being married to a wife or a husband, those people will be facing these scorpions that will be set upon those people. And again, they will be relentless. They will not stop. The second world in Akhirah is the world of Jannah. The world of Jannah, again, is indescribable to us. SubhanAllah, it's so beautiful, immense. And so I'm not going to go into that as a topic for another day. But again, with Jannah, just as Jahannam, there are inhabitants of Jannah. There are inhabitants of Jannah. And I will just talk about the particular ones, which is, they're called Hur al-Ain. Hur al-Ain, the Hur of Jannah, right? Now, they are women. And they're women that are constructed in such a manner that the luster and radiance of their beauty is incredible and incomparable. Nothing on earth compares to them, right? They are women who are created in Jannah and remain in Jannah, in paradise. They do not come out of Jannah. And so they have a pure life and a pure existence. And what will, the essence of their beauty is such that if a hur from Jannah was to literally put her face through the sky at night time on earth, right, the night sky would become as bright as day. That's the radiance of her beauty. Okay, that's the radiance of her beauty. And they are in Jannah. And when the inhabitants of this dunya go to the Akhirah, the men who are righteous and pious, for example, the prophets, the Sahaba, the awliya, the mu'min, the mujahideen, etc., will get to Jannah. To them, for each man that enters Jannah who has been a righteous man in the dunya, he will have 2 hur as his wives in Jannah. As 2 hur who will be his wives in Jannah. And before any of the sisters start to ask me questions about this, yes, the wife in the dunya, if she is a righteous Muslimah and reaches the gates of Jannah, she will join her husband, but her beauty will exceed the beauty of the Hur al-Ain. Her beauty will exceed the beauty of the Hur al-Ain. And the Hur al-Ain is it's a beautiful topic, and it's something that, women here really should study that. And there's a lot to learn about the character and conduct of righteous, pure women, right? It's an example for us. It's a creation of Allah Ta'ala, and it's an example for us. Also, we can learn a lot of other things from their conduct with their husbands, and from their essence. But that's, again, a topic for another time, inshallah. So these are the different worlds, Rabb al-Alameen, that Allah is Rabb of. And He is the Rabb of all these creations. All these creations, He's the Rabb of. He's developing them, nourished them, evolved them, including the scorpions, including the serpents, and including the Hur al-Ain. He is the Rabb of all of these creations. So, in essence and in conclusion, on our spiritual reflection for Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, all praise is due to Allah, Lord of the worlds. Allah Ta'ala is the Rabb of all His creation. He is your Rabb, my Rabb. He's Rabbaniya, those aspects of Him developing, cherishing, nourishing, evolving us, shaping us, we should reflect upon. Reflect upon this in our spiritual, in our muraqabah, in our meditation, in our contemplation of Allah, that He's, so in a sense, and I'll give you one clue when we talk about He's the evolver, He shaped us. So no one should ever, if you reflect upon this properly, be disappointed with what they look like. And true mu'min people do not prize looks above the iman of a person. So something to reflect over, inshallah. Finally, I'd like to give you a question before we end. The question is this: considering everything we've just learned today, I would like you to form a dua of gratitude to Allah Ta'ala form a dua of gratitude to Allah Ta'ala. This will be our shukr, our thanks, our praise of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Now, we normally would make a dua anyway, but this will be, and this will be rewarded, by the way. This is when you are putting pen to paper or typing it out, formulate a short dua that shows your appreciation of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala and what He's done as your Rabb. Okay, what He's done for us as our Rabb. And that will be in itself be rewarded. And if you want, inshallah, you have my email, you can send it to me, and I'll have a look at it, and I'll make a comment for you if you want, and I'll give you some feedback on it, inshallah. But then once you've done it, then you can use this as a dua in your salah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inshallah. I hope that was, inshallah, of some benefit to you. Jazakallah khairan, and we'll continue with this next week with the next ayah, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. Jazakallah khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.